Welcome back to a new video here in SUALVI. In this video, we're gonna build a title similar to this one. It's not gonna be the same exact one, but it's gonna be pretty much the same. We're gonna use the same format. I'm not sure what you can call these. If you know the actual name of the style, let me know. Okay. Now, if we go into this Fusion composition, you will see that it looks a little bit crazy, but I'm gonna try to make it really easy to follow and simple enough. So let's start with creating a new Fusion composition. And if you have too many, make sure to rename them there so that you can know, you can easily find the project that you want to work on. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is always add a first background, which is we are going to use as a base. And we're going to see that here. And on this screen, we're going to actually see the final version. I usually like to work with the 3D scene here and then the render version here so that you can know how things are looking. Okay, now the first thing that we want to do is actually we're gonna create a shape, then we're gonna create a merge 3D, and then we're gonna create another renderer and then a second merge node here because we're gonna have our camera here. We can add the camera, but we're not gonna use it yet. And then we're gonna connect these here. So now we can see that cube there, which is our shape. Now, the first thing that we wanna do is, again, we're gonna press 2 right here so that we can see our shape. It's actually a plane. And we can press 1 here so we can see what the render view is seeing. Now, since I'm recording, I forgot to take the high quality off. And also make sure to check out your proxy mode to make it half, because sometimes this might take a little bit of, not only a little bit, but will take some resources because you're working with 3D stuff here. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our shape here and we're gonna change the shape to a sphere, to a cylinder. And you'll see it's a little bit big. You can actually just make it smaller by going to 1 here, since either way, we're not gonna use this whole height. And subdivisions, we're not able to see it clearly right now, but if you look at closely, you'll see that it's not completely a circle, but it's sort of like you see these sides here a little bit sharp. So if you add more subdivisions, similar to in Blender, the more subdivisions you add, the more circle it's gonna look like. So so I think 50 should be fine. That looks rather smooth and clean there. Okay, I like that. Now we have that ready. The next thing that we can do is actually, we're just gonna add a text here. And this can be a normal text, and we can connect this text here, and that's going to disappear because we don't have anything written here. We can write down SUALVI, and you'll see how our text is already following the shape of the shape here of the cylinder. So if we move the text SUALVI to the side, you'll see how it's sort of following that, and you can see it on this screen too, how it looks in the end. But if you press number 2 here on SUALVI, you will see where it's located in your actual 2D view of the actual node. Now, in the previous one, well, not the previous one, but the example that you saw, if you saw the community post on YouTube or just the intro of this video, you saw that this one was a little bit different and it had some shapes. And to add the shape, we simply select these texts, and here we can click on the background node. And then we can just click. First, we want to make sure that our background is set to the background here so that our text is not covered. Now we can see that the background is actually covering the whole shape. And if we don't want that to happen, we can just press 2 right here so we can see the whole screen. And you can do a couple of different things. There's 2 types in the example that I showed you. There's one that was just like a rectangle covering just the exact amount of the text right here, like that. So if we just go up all around the screen and we come back to the merge, we can see that it sort of makes a big circle, but it's a little bit too big. And what I actually did, because I want the text to be replicated here, is I actually want a duplicate here of our shape. So I forgot to add that at the beginning. So we're gonna add a duplicate 3D, and we're gonna change the rotation of the Y value here to 180. Now that you will see that it's sort of like a little bit it's having a few issues because of our background rectangle here is a little bit too big. So we can actually just make it bigger, smaller, I mean, so that it doesn't get all the way around the other side of our object, because it's basically overlaid on top of each other because it's a full 3D shaped circle. Okay, we're actually gonna not use the rectangle like that in this case, so we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna add a color to our shape here so we can do those little lines that we had. And in order to see it better, we can just use the merge node here, press 2. And on this background, we're gonna create a polygon. We're gonna add a little line shape that we had and make the border width a little bit bigger. And we can also add a little ellipse here and make these smaller like that. And then we're gonna bring these to the side so it's right at the point of here that we have these one other ending. But you will see here on our renderer, that looks really weird because it's sort of like stretching it. You will have to set up your circle to be a little bit weird. So it's gonna look like an egg on your 3D viewer. That way it will look like an actual circle on the 3D viewer because it's being stretched by the shape here. And now it's only showing it on one side. So what we wanna do is actually we're gonna add a mirror here after the background, and that will just add a complete mirrored version of our image. If we go back to the 3D viewer, we can see it here, and we can actually add the camera already so that we can see the correct view on the render like that. And I actually want to make the text a little bit bigger. So we're gonna have to edit a little bit of our polygon right here. Okay, and now we're not seeing really the render because the text is to the side. So we're gonna have to rotate the Y value of our shape here, or you can also use the merge node to rotate that. It's really not that big of a deal which one you use, but you just have to make sure that it is 90 degrees. That way it's towards our camera default, or you can just adjust the position of your camera. Okay, I see the polygon right here is going on top of our text. We can verify that by just looking at it here. And we can actually just move these and also select the ellipse. For some reason, I can't select all of them, but we're gonna select whatever comes first and then adjust the other one too. And we're gonna put it in position right there. And that seems to look fine. Okay, we have that here right now. And it's going a little bit over, so I'm not sure why that is. I guess it's because of the rotation. It's already coming all the way around it, but it's not that big of a deal. We can then add the animation section of it. For that, to animate these, we're gonna animate the merge node, and you're gonna need to be using DaVinci Resolve 17 for these because we're gonna use the anim curves function so that it's animating continuously. Now this whole thing is 5 seconds long, so if we want to do a full rotation in around 5 seconds, we have to just add the rotation here and then right click, and then we're gonna go to modify with and then anim curves. Here we go to the modifier and it's gonna look it's gonna say transition. You can actually do duration, which is basically gonna follow the duration of our timeline here. And then you can do linear. If you wanna make it have some sort of curve, you can use the easing options, or custom if you want the speed to sort of like change as the thing is moving. Like these will change and then it slows down, or it actually is going in reverse in that case. So yeah, so in this case, we're just gonna use linear. And that means it's gonna be going at a constant speed until it gets to the ending point, which is gonna be 180. So like a rotation, complete rotation to the other side. So if we wanna add another one, for example, we're just gonna copy this top section, go a little bit above, and then go here. And if you want, you can actually group them, press Ctrl G and it will form a group. And if you want to expand these, just press Ctrl E and it will just expand so that you can see it there. So it's a little bit more organized, but it's really up to you and how your workflow goes. like that. And now in this case, it's basically in the same side. It's basically on top of it. So we're gonna have to adjust this merge node that we have here. And for that, we're just gonna change these like that a little bit. And you can adjust the size of it too if you want. If you want to make it a little bit smaller, like that. And then we're also gonna rotate it a little bit on the Z axis and then the X one too. There it goes. Now I want these texts to be a little bit different than the main one. So we're gonna actually just go to shading section and change these to the text outline. Now we can see the outline and we can actually change the words here. So in the example you saw, it said SUALVI and then visual. And that is basically what you're seeing. Now here on this render view, it looks a little bit flat, right? Now, if you want this to go to the other side, we're actually gonna change the scale to -180 or -180. And since we have these connected to this merge node, which has the other scale, right now they are both animating to the same side. So we have to actually change these and connect these to this merge node. And now we can see that our text here, the smaller one, is going in the opposite direction. In this render view, you can't really appreciate it, how it looks, but we're gonna do a few things so that you can actually see the difference. First, we're gonna change the color of our lines here. Or if you wanna change the style, you can actually just do that rectangle version that I did earlier that I showed. And then we're gonna actually just move our camera, and then we're gonna select our camera down here. We're gonna use not the Y value, but X value. And then we're gonna put it at this angle. And now we can see our text moving in opposite directions. And then in the example that I showed, it was all about just positioning these. So if you want to position these in a different place and make it be like these, for example, or be right on top of the other one, or be smaller, for example, then you can make that happen. But it's really up to you. And then you also, there was also another thing that I had in the first one that you saw, which were, everything was basically not only animating in one direction, but it's sort of like swinging, I guess you could call it. And for that, I am actually I think I missed one more merge node. So we're gonna add another one and we're gonna connect these here. And the reason for that is that here, if we move anything on this merge node, then we can just move both words, both different texts that we have here. So if we move these to that side, both are gonna animate like that. And that's basically how I animated that. You can add a shake animation if you want. So modify these with the shake. And then on the values, you would just put the minimum would be 0, which would be the default here. And then you can do like, you can actually do 45 and then -45. If you want it to be really smooth, make this go really high like that. So it is going to sort of slowly move from one side to the other. So from -45 all the way to +45, that is. If you lower the smoothness and then press the random seed, you will see that I will just start going a little bit crazy, sort of like those fair games. I don't know what it's called, but it sort of moved like that. But yeah, so in this case, I want it to be smooth, so we're gonna just leave it like that. And there we have this text moving. And actually, it's a little bit too much. I just want it to be like -20 and then 20. So it's a little bit more subtle. And I'm gonna actually take the random seed to 0. So everything's a little bit more linear. Now, there was one last thing that I added was a glow effect. And if you try to add a glow effect individually, sometimes it doesn't let you do that. Why? Because you can only apply these sort of like in a 2D format for some reason. So it doesn't let you apply it on directly on the 3D section. So you have to do it after the 3D render. So if I press 1 here, you will see the glow here. And if you want both of them to have different settings on the glow, what you have to do is actually you're gonna have to create 2 different renders for these. Now that is basically the style of how you would go about doing these. And then the last thing that you actually, if you want to add motion blur to these, is you can only do it in the render 3D. So for that, you're gonna go here to settings, and here you will find the motion blur, and then you can actually just play around with the different values to get to a point that you like. Now you can use this technique and play around and add more things, tweak things. And I am actually gonna leave the project file of this project file down in the description so that you can download it if you want to play around with it and just create your own wording and then just adjust things so that you can put these on your videos if you want. Now, if you look at the final result, this is it. So hopefully you learned something new in this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it. It's a little bit long. Make sure to check the description if you want to download the project file of these sort of title animation. And talking about title animations, if you need some title animations, I do have a pack that came out a while ago. Right now it's 50 titles, but the goal is to get to 100 titles for that pack. Now that is it for this video. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you in the next video here in SUALVI. Bye.